Welcome to the Meeple Syrup Aftershow, where designers discuss design. We just had episode 11 where we talked Euroeconomy, where we talked about Euro games or just game design in general. We had Gil Bruno Cathala on as special guest, and Chris Handy is our reliever for Dylan as a host. We chatted for an hour. I felt like it was 10 minutes. It flew by. And we're on the after show where we're just going to chat about games, Euro games, whatever we like. You can talk all over each other. But before we do, I want to give a plug for next week's episode because I totally forgot. And that is that we have a couple really exciting episodes lined up for everyone. The first is that we do have one mystery designer coming, but I can tell you about at least Jason Kutowski. I'm sorry if I said that wrong, but he is the designer of
Dead Drop.
Great Hauling Company, Dead Drop. Other games. He's the Green Couch. What is that game? I'm drawing a blank on it. Fidelitas or something?
Yeah.
I can never pronounce it.
It's
okay.
Fidelitas, right?
There it is. So he's going to be on, and we have another designer coming on, but I'm still confirming things with them, so I can't say for sure. And then in 2 weeks, we have a new twist. Last week we did publishers as a twist instead of designers. And next week, or the week after that, so November 26th, we're going to do a twist. We're going to actually interview reviewers. So we're going to have on the show Richard Ham, Rado's Run-Throughs, and we're also going to have Tiffany and Rihanna from Spooning Meeples. So we're really excited about having the three of them on November 26th and talking about game design, but from the reviewer's perspective. So what are they seeing? We can talk about trends. We can talk about what designs or mechanics they like and that people are responding to, all that kind of fun stuff. So again, a couple great shows lined up. But before those happen, we have tonight. So let's talk games. I'm going to throw the question right out there. I'm curious, and we'll just talk over each other, but what is everyone's favorite Euro style game of this year so far? Is there any game that gets that kind of branding or title that someone has played recently that they love? And I'll disclaimer,
I got it first.
You can't name something that was designed by someone on the show here.
I got first dibs. So
awesome.
I just played Imperial Settlers. But
I knew
Ignacy. Yeah, I know. And let me tell you, it is good. It's really, really good. If you haven't played Imperial Settlers yet, and you like your Euros with a little bit of poke to them, it is a great card-driven game, very fast to play. 3 to 4 players, asymmetrical factions, very component light, easy rules to understand for the most part. There was one thing that JF and I kind of got mixed up on, but that was more JF's fault for being really tired when he taught it to me. Other than that, it's a great game. So when it comes back in stock, because I believe it's out of print really quickly, it sold out anyways at distributor level. Grab that game. It is wonderful.
Yeah, so Daryl, I will reject your artificial construct of a year. Well, actually, for me, the problem with the question is all the interesting games get released towards the end of the year, so it's tough to say, well, what's the best game of the year? I mean, I don't have any time to play them, so I used to go Essen to Essen. Now I'm actually going to go Gen Con to Gen Con because more publishers are starting to sneak up earlier. So for this particular year, that just started, I'll have a better idea after next week when I played a bunch of games at BGG Con, but I got to play the Stouffer Dynasty and I loved it. It was really, really awesome.
What was awesome?
I have that on order. I'm looking forward to that.
It's just this really fresh take on, it's kind of, worker placement, area majority, and, a few designers have done that before, right, Sen?
Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about.
No, but this one has it's got this a cool turn order mechanism to it also, where you get 3 actions per turn, but you really can do only one of 2 things, and which thing you choose affects where you go in turn order. So it's really quite it's really quite intriguing, and I'm really looking forward to playing it again.
Stouffer Dynasty. We'll look it up.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, Z-Man is going to be having it in at least distribution.
Oh, cool.
Well, then I'll probably just get
Canada, it. If not, yeah, I was just going to say I just ordered it from them.
So on my side, I agree that Imperial Settlers, I've been also impressed by the game, but it was not a surprise because I think that Ignacy is really one of the top designers worldwide.
That was great.
And he's so a nice guy. You should invite him to speak with you. Really.
We should.
Well, we're going to use this clip to recruit him right now. Bruno said you must be on the show.
So it's so interesting to discuss with him about game design. He's clever, really clever. So it was not a surprise. My main problem for me to have an advice or to have an opinion about games is that I have no time to play.
That's fair.
That means that I'm working all the week on my game design, and there are a lot, and I have only one evening each week where I can play, and it's dedicated to my play tasting sessions. So I know what happens because I'm reading internet each day on BGG or on French website, which is Trick Track, for example. So I'm looking at videos, etc. But I'm not playing that much.
That's fair. Well, what ones have you seen?
Sorry, I've played one game this week, which is really good. It's Deus. It's published by Pearl Games. It's a game by Sébastien Dujardin.
Right.
It's also a card-driven game. It's not a civilization game. It's a card-driven game, but it works very well.
Absolutely.
Is Pearl a French company?
It's a Belgian company.
Oh, Belgian. Okay, great.
But they speak French.
And their games all their games so far have looked gorgeous also.
That's awesome. I'll mention as well. Deus is I think 3rd on the BGG Con hot list, like for the voting right now of games that people are really excited about seeing at BGG Con. So it's building up momentum at the right time. But I'm curious, Chris, how about you? Anything that stood out to you?
Yeah, well, I can sympathize a little bit with you, Bruno. I've been testing like crazy too, and that's been my focus. But I have to give you props. It's been a fantastic year for you, and seriously, 5 Tribes and Abyss are fantastic.
Breaking the rules.
I know, but they're 2 that I've actually played that I like. One game I'm really excited about is this Cult Express. It's a train robbery game.
Yeah.
And I hope it plays well. I know it got a lot of buzz at Essen.
Totally.
It looks great, and it's the kind of game that I think I could really get into. So I've got high hopes for that.
I have high hopes for that as well. Another one that I would mention that I haven't played yet that I have high hopes for is Spike.
You see?
Yes.
Sorry, I just want to add something about Colt Express because it's a good illustration of our former discussion. Colt Express is a French game, but it could have been an American one.
Right.
Yes.
It's you don't, if you are playing to 6 people, you don't control anything, but it's a lot of fun. It's really nice.
Yes.
I like it, but it's more close to Ameritrash than to Eurogames in France.
Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I had this thing where I got to play for a summer with this student from Poland, and she contacted me on Board Game Geek because she had no one to play with, so she wanted to get in some gaming. So I met her, and she is from Poland. I'm from America, so of course she loved all the American games, and I loved all the European games. So that's there's no rules here. It's all anarchy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hey Bruno, I have a quick question for you. My friends just finished playing Five Tribes, and they asked me on Facebook what the expansions for Five Tribes might look like in the future.
They're going to come in a box.
Thanks, Bill.
You know, I just prepared the first file yesterday, and I want to print and cut it today. So that means that nothing has been tested yet. So it's hard to say what it will look like, but you can figure that there will be some new tiles.
Okay.
For example, one of my projects, we are playing on the 5x6 square. Okay.
Right.
Yep.
I think that I will extend it to 6x6. That means 2 tiles, but with new effects, with something new inside. Okay. That means that I have to increase the number of meeples. Increasing the number of meeple, I will add a new tribe.
Oh, 6 tribes.
Excellent.
Exactly. But I have some different ideas for that tribe, and I have to play test them before speaking.
Excellent.
That's fair. That's fair. Will it add another player or just the alternative tribe?
Not sure. I know that people would like to have a 5th player, but like we discussed before, the problem is the balance and the downtime.
Right.
You know that some people are speaking about analysis paralysis on this game, and if you increase the number of players, you will increase the waiting time. So I'm not sure it will be a good thing. I will test something, but it's not really my cup of tea to increase the number of players for that game.
Yep. No, that makes sense. Another, I didn't actually mention my choice of Euro game beyond breaking the rules, but I wanted to give a shout out for Castles of Mad King Ludwig.
Yeah.
I have to try that one.
I really enjoyed that. The auction mechanic, I think, really works best with more players.
Oh yeah.
And there's a little bit of analysis paralysis danger with the auction, but if everyone just has fun with it, I had a fantastic time playing the game, and I love the spatial building, my own kind of castle going on and comparing. So I did want to also mention that great game designed by Ted.
We should get Ted on this show.
Yeah.
Ted is really, he's just on fire right now, man. He's just totally
Yeah. He is, but this also goes back to what we were talking about before about downtime. I mean, downtime's okay if it's interesting downtime. I remember with like Princess of Florence, I think is a great example because that's a game that has a lot of downtime, but for me, sometimes there's not enough downtime. It's like, no, I haven't finished thinking yet. Now I've got to think some more. So to me, that game has really, really interesting downtime because I'm really just churning on. Okay, I've got 6 moves left, so I've got to make the most out of them. I think when Bruno mentioned Colt Express, yeah, sure, there's downtime, but he finds the downtime entertaining because it's so fun to watch what happens to the other player. So that's the other way you handle that much downtime is you make it the kind of game where you're just laughing at what's happening.
Absolutely. No, I'm a fan actually of downtime because for me, I think it gives people the excuse to think about their turn. And sometimes I play games with my wife where she feels if the turns are really quick, she doesn't like people like staring at her, waiting for her to take her turn. So there is that fine balance of what is interesting downtime versus what is just annoying and slow.
On my side, concerning people thinking a lot before taking a decision, I have no problem to see people taking time if they are really thinking and analyzing the situation. My problem is with people who take too much time because they just don't fear to take the best decision.
Right.
And they are paralyzed because they want to make the best move, but they have no idea which is the best move.
Yeah.
And I hate that kind of player because when you are playing, even if it's a big game, you have to take risk.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Play.
Mm-hmm. Grip it and rip it.
That's right.
Would you ever advise, Bruno, people playing 5 tries with a timer?
No.
Because that could be the opposite, right? People have to make quick.
You know, there is a real learning curve in that game. That means that at the beginning, you can think that you have so many possibilities, it's incredible, etc. But as far as you have played it 2, 3, or 4 times, you see immediately a lot of things that you don't have to take in consideration.
Yes.
And in the main situation, you only have to focus on the 2 or 3 moves, and you see them immediately. So I don't think you need a timer.
Yeah, I don't actually think that, but it's funny because, like you said, there is actually only a few strategies you start to lean into, and then it actually reduces as the board moves on. I mean, it really is just reducing your options.
Yep.
Yeah.
For me, the Walled City, my game, that was the same thing. There's a lot of information, but you start to just choose. I'm starting to go this path.
It was a real choice from me since the beginning of the development of that game. That means when you see development games, for example, Imperial Settlers, the more you progress, the more you have choices, the more you can do things.
Yeah.
Okay? And on my game, I wanted to do that.
Yes.
The more you progress, the less things you can do, and the most important is to play before the other to do the best thing.
Absolutely. I think that deconstruction is so key because the decisions feel more meaningful, but you have less options. So as it progresses, they feel meaty and they feel important, yet you only have so many. It's reducing. So I love that in that game.
Yeah. I remember that game because Bruno destroyed me completely in my first play of 5 tries. But then after, when I played it again...
yes, but with a smile.
Yeah, with a very nice smile, yes. It's funny because I don't know if you guys know this, but when Bruno does plays and things like that, he always gets cast as the evil guy. I don't know why.
Oh, yeah.
Give us the evil look. What's the evil look, Bruno?
Yes.
Give us your evil look. Let's see your evil face.
Give us your evil laugh.
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah, that's Bond's supervillain right there.
There it is.
I am in your...
But yeah, so he beat me with a smile, and then in my second or third game of it, everything kind of just clicks. And you're right, it's sort of that diamond of, point to lots of choices, and then all of a sudden it goes like this once it clicks, and you're like, oh, I see the path that I'm going to take in this one.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of people complain about AP in games, and to those people, it's more like, I think you just need to play it more. Maybe you just don't get it. I don't know. It's not that the games create AP. They might be prone to having people who are AP prone play with AP, I guess, when there's more decisions and whatnot. Is there any other games that anybody feels like chatting about?
I actually had a question about one of your designs, Bruno. In Dice Town, I'm curious if it was difficult for you to incorporate poker into a game, because people come with their own ideas about poker, and there's a serious balance to the poker elements, and to throw that into a game. Did you find that game was more difficult to balance because of it?
This game for me is a specific story because the sparkling ID comes from Ludovic Maublanc. The sparkling ID doesn't come from me, and the sparkling ID from Ludovic was to create a real board game using poker dice.
Okay.
So it was the initial idea. And he invited me to work on this game because he had some ideas, but it doesn't work. And we worked together, and so it was not that difficult because it was the initial choice, doing something with poker dice into a real board game. So then we focused.
Okay.
It was not that difficult, in fact.
Okay.
And you see, when you are playing Dice Stone, poker is not that important. The only place where it is important is to take the location.
Yeah.
But never mind if you know poker or not, you will get nuggets, you will get money, you will get some specific cards, etc. Never mind if you know the poker combination or not.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I have another question for the group. I'm curious if there are any games that you feel they were a little under the radar that are, again, this Euro-style game, things that it might be you've designed yourself that hasn't been as well received. You thought it would be popular, but didn't click with people, or a game that you've played with other people that, for some reason, is a real under the radar or underappreciated.
Well, I'll start. I mean, there's one game that I've been sort of on a crusade about because it's. I really love the game, but hate the production values, and that's Global Mogul. It's alienated a lot of people because it looks like a prototype. It looks like it came out of someone's printer. But it is a fantastic game. It plays so well. So, that's a game that I think flew under the radar because a lot of people, at this point, the bar is so high, especially with art, just because something's an economic game doesn't mean it has to look clip artish, and that's, I think, the impression that, unfortunately, Global Mogul gives, and it deserved a presentation like Ground Floor or, dare I say it, Battle Merchants, or the forthcoming Captains of Industry by Tasty Minstrel. That game is going to look beautiful. I've seen the advanced copy of it, and it is gorgeous. So that's one that I'm trying to get on the table more often. Global Mogul, just because it's so good.
Chris, did you go get a game or something in that time?
No, I was just looking at trying to kind of spark an answer to this. I know one game I've been playing a lot is Amerigo. I haven't played it so much in the last 6 months, but I think it's really cool. I think it's good use of that tower, and I've had a lot of fun with it. And I don't feel like it kind of came and went.
Right.
Well, I think that's kind of just a artifact of the game industry at this time. I mean, a lot of people are saying we're in a renaissance, and maybe we are, but we're also at a period of time where there are literally more games released now in this year, 2014, than you would have seen released in any 5 years, a decade ago. It's ridiculous the amount of product that's coming out. So we get the games cycled through and cycled through and cycled through. So it's very difficult for anything to latch on, and the games that do latch on really well, and then everything else just kind of bubbles under, or it might hit the hotness for a couple days and then bubbles under, and then the games that are classic or the nouveau classics seem to keep up on top, and those are the ones that sell a ton, like Pandemic and games like so.
Yeah, here's a question for you guys then, and this is kind of a depressing question. Do you think we're headed for a crash?
That's a good question. Actually, I want to give a shout out on answering this question to meeplestats.com. It's a brand new website that I just stumbled on, and I hope they do more stuff. But it's fascinating because they are compiling all of the statistics of the number of new games that are being released each year. What of those are expansion games? What of those are Kickstarter games? What percentage are games that are actually getting BGG ranks? And it's fascinating to see the charts. I was a little surprised, but the number of new games is not as shocking a trajectory as I thought it was. What were some of the more shocking ones were the number of expansions, or the number of games that are being produced by the top 10 designers, or certain publishers, how many they're producing. So on the bubble question, I'm not necessarily answering it, but I would give a shout out to meeplestats.com, and I mean, it's not me, but I thought it was a really interesting source.
This looks like a great source, and thanks for mentioning it. It looks like we have kind of a little bit more of a flood from about '09 to about 2013, and it's a little bit under the average for 2014 at the moment. And that number is about 2,500 or so. It was what it's been for the last 5 years, and 2014 so far is 2,279. So kind of interesting stats.
Would look at the games with BGG rankings. It's fascinating because, like, if you look at 2012, there are 548 games with BGG ranks, and this year we only have 192.
Yeah, that number's way off too, isn't it? That's strange.
Well, keep in mind we haven't gone through any of the local Essen cons yet, like local as in local North America. So a lot of people haven't played the Essen games yet from this year. So
that's true.
If they're going to count 2014 games as including this year's Essen games, that number's going to go up a lot in the next month or two.
That's a good point, Gil.
It will go up, but what I think is pretty interesting is that for the last 10 years, it's pretty steady. It's about 500 games.
Yeah, it'd be neat to see if you can compare, November this year to November last year. That would probably be more of a true metric. It's kind of neat because when you think about it, I mean, a BGG ranking is based on what? It's based on the number of plays that a number of unique people have rated it on, right? Well, not really. So number of unique people rating the game is how you get your BGG ranking, and that in itself is kind of telling that maybe a lot of people are playing a lot of games, but not to the point where they can actually give it a ranking. They've just played it once, maybe. I don't know. There's a lot of cult of new factor happening, right? So
for sure.
I think another thing that's affecting this is maybe 10 years ago, you knew where all of the big games were going to come from. You knew that you were going to get some from Rio Grande, some from Z-Man, Hans im Gluck, Amigo, all of the big ones. Nowadays, with Kickstarter, they're coming at you from all directions. So you don't know where those next few games are coming from. So discovery is getting harder and harder in the board game space, even if the number of games is the same. If you look at the number of games from Kickstarter, that's spiking up a lot. And so there's a lot of shock of, oh, I haven't even heard of that game. That's happening a lot now.
Yep.
Another thing which has changed since for the 10 last years, it's that 10 years ago, for example, I just consider my situation in France. It was quite possible for me to play quite each game which was published in France. Right. Main of them, just because there was the French publishers which were publishing in French, the German one which were publishing in German, the American, which were publishing in American, etc., etc. And sometimes you had some games coming with translations. Now all the games are published in all language. So that means that you don't have now a specific market in your country. The market is worldwide, and that makes the number of the total number of reference is the same or doesn't increase so much, but the number of reference you can have in your own language is has increased just because of that, in fact.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Actually, I want to follow up on French games. I've heard this, and I'm curious. I mean, we're talking about global world now with all these translations, but there does seem to be a vibe of certain games, and one that I've heard is that French games are often funny, that there's a sense of humor, a thing like that. Would you say that's true, Bruno? Are you seeing there's a little bit more play, a little more fun, a little more humor out of French designs?
I hope it's true.
I think it is.
But maybe because since the beginning we are in the middle. I think that our French designer, we had both influences between American games and German one, and I think that our design is since the beginning, a mix of these two influences. Like Italian designers, we are very close to their design.
I've actually gotten the comment for a lot of our designs that when we take them to a German publisher, oh, you should take that to an Italian or a French publisher because Germans have no sense of humor and you guys have way too much humor in your game. You should take it to an Italian publisher or a French publisher.
I won't say no sense of humor. I will say not the same.
Oh, no. This was from a German. Actually, I think it was Andreas from Zoc, to be honest. Or it might have been
you're throwing him
George
under the
from
bus.
Hansen Gluck. Yeah, I'm throwing George and Andreas under the bus, but
one other thing which is really specific to French publisher and also American ones is that we take a real care about illustrations.
Oh, 100%.
About artwork. And in Germany, not so much. Or we have not the same taste at all.
Right.
100%. I mean, my goal, I think I've mentioned this before on the show, is to actually get signed with a French publisher, just because I value their aesthetics so much. The games are great, but I really enjoyed the production value that the companies like Asmodee and Repos and Space Cowboy and companies like that are putting into their games. So I totally agree with you there, Bruno.
Okay. Sorry, I will have to leave now.
Well, actually, no, that's probably a good time. We should probably actually wrap the show.
My girlfriend will wake up and I have to make the cooking.
Yes, for anyone who doesn't know, this is super early for Bruno. So thank you, Bruno, for being on the show, waking up early for us. And for the rest of us, well, not Chris as much, but for the East Coasters, we're ready to go to bed.
Yeah.
So thank you so much
for me. And if you want to discuss on another topic in a few months, don't hesitate to ask.
Awesome,
thank
Bruno.
you. We will definitely take you up on that. Thank you so much, Bruno.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll see you real soon.
Bye bye.
Au revoir.
Bye, Bruno.
And Gil, again, thank you for being on the show and coming along for the after show. We really appreciate it. Again, I'm just going to actually do a send-off here to any of our fans out there. You can find us on all, all that information is coming up on the screen. So you can find us on Twitter, our website. You can send us emails, find us on YouTube and Facebook. But really, we just want to encourage, make great games. We're looking forward to playing them. And tune in next week where we have a couple more designers sharing some tips and some suggestions on how to make your game better. Thanks. Have a great night.
Awesome.